Today we're going to talk about Singapore real estate. We're currently in downtown area, Singapore, and we're going to interview a realtor in the area just to share a little bit more of the insights about real estate in this beautiful country. Hello, my name is Natalie, and we are with Jason Lowe here in Singapore. He's local from the area, and he's going to share a little bit of the market here, real estate in general, and what's living in this beautiful city. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Natalie.
So I think our first question is, can foreign people, especially Americans, buy property here in Singapore?
Can US citizens, they are able to do so long they just produce their US passport for identification purpose, as well as cash flow or loan itself, we are good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
So for the loan specifically, do they have an ability to get a loan here in Singapore, or do they have to bring money from their country?
Either way, both are possible. So for loan itself, they will need to produce their income statement from their job or from their business. Then they can get up to 75% loan from local financial institutions.
And they do loan to Americans here?
Yes, they do. So long as proper documentation, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so that's great. So it's up to 75%.
Up to 75%.
Great. So 25% down payment. Cash. Perfect. So what will be the process of buy real estate in Singapore if they decide to move here, or I'm sure the company might move them here, but if they're just independent, what will be the process?
Okay, it really depends on whether you want to get a resale, which is the existing project itself, or like a brand new launch itself. So the difference between a resale, they will need to pay the 1% down payment to get a documentation, what we call an option to purchase. So for the 2 weeks, then if they decided to exercise the option, they'll need to down pay another 4%. So for the legal completion, it takes about 12 weeks, then they'll need to pay the balance 95%. So for a new project itself, so the down payment is 20%, then the balance 80% is progressively, depending on the construction stage of the project itself, which is lasts for the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so that pre-sale before the building is built.
Correct.
But if it's a property that already exists and it's built,
then have to pay
it on. Okay.
Yes.
Is there a loan for that?
Yeah. So for the existing one, that is resale, what we call a resale. So you can get up to 75% loan. So the balance 25% has to be cash.
Okay.
Yes.
So similar, 75% to for the pre-sale. Let's say the developments that will be turned in 3 to 4 years. Will they have to finish the balance by then, or the developer finance them after that?
Okay, so during for the project itself, so the balance 80%, right? Actually, you are still able to get the 75% loan from financial institution in Singapore. So it really depends on the the construction stage of the project itself. Then every stage, then the developer will bill the buyers themselves.
Okay.
So it will last probably 4 years. The stage.
They will do
the 80%, correct.
Okay. And then the rest will be paid off, either by a financing company or that.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So then that's great. For the legal steps, once an American buys in Singapore, what are the legal steps they need to follow? Do they need to become a resident, or not necessarily?
Okay, it's not necessary for them to be a local resident. They can buy, still being a US citizen, no problem. So long they just produce their passport for identification purpose, and the cash flow we'll need to do some checks on the finance from the buyers themselves. Yes, to prevent money laundering. So other than that, we are good to go. There's no need for them to become a Singapore citizen.
Okay,
yeah, no need.
Perfect. So they can invest in Singapore without being a resident or
That's correct. So for them, right, they only can purchase what we call private property for condominiums only. Yeah. So because there's a restriction that foreign buyers cannot buy landed properties in Singapore, like those landed units along like Singapore cities, every neighborhood area. The buyers are unable to do so. Yeah. Land, no.
No land.
No land, just condominium, the unit itself. Correct.
Perfect. And then are there any houses in Singapore, or is mostly high-rise?
Mostly high-rise, like 95% are high-rise buildings. Yeah.
For price ranges, let's say one bedroom. How much is the range in Singapore here?
For resale wise, probably 700,000 to 1 million plus. For new launches, nowadays is about 1.2 million for one bedder. 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom.
Okay, 1.2 Singapore
dollars.
Okay, perfect. We're going to chat about land ownership. In this case, condo ownership. In some countries, you cannot purchase by the water. If you're a foreign person, is that the case here, or you're okay anywhere?
So so for foreigners, they are able to purchase any private condominiums anywhere in Singapore, so long it's what we call a strata title. Most condominiums are on strata titles. So the only restriction is that they are unable to buy landed homes. That's the only restrictions. Landed homes, landed homes like terrace, semi-detached or bungalows. Foreigners are unable to buy that, as well as public housing. Yeah, so these two are no. So other than that will be condominiums. Condominiums, it also comes with leasehold and freehold. Both foreigners are able to buy either which. Yeah, there's no restriction on that.
Okay. So in a condominium for 1.2 million Singapore dollars, what would be an average HOA?
You mean the maintenance fee? Maintenance fee really depends on the project itself, how big the project, like how many units are there in the project. The bigger the project, the smaller the maintenance fee. On average, probably 3 to 500. Yeah.
3 to 500 per month.
Yep.
And if they decide to move out and rent it out, the same one bedroom condo, how much they can rent it out?
Depending on the location wise, probably it ranges from 2 to about 3.5k. Yeah, really depends on location wise. Yes.
Okay, so the project that we have behind us, if they decide to buy a one bed, one bath, do they have the maintenance fee set up or not yet?
Maintenance fee is about 300 plus, but I'll need to do a double check on the specific amount. And whereas for the rental wise, probably on current market, probably about 3k plus, I suppose.
Rental
income.
So when a foreign person, an American, owns a condo here, they rent it out, what's the tax that they will pay? Like, it will be income tax in here, or will that be considered something else?
Okay, so for here, there is a difference between a property tax of ownership on the unit itself, as well as rental income tax. So for the property tax, it ranges. There are two rates also. So there is like owner-occupied rate, and there's a non-owner occupied rate. So if you are buying, for an investment purpose, it ranges from 10 to about 30%. Yeah. Itself, this 10 to 30% really depends on the annual value of your home. So the annual value is the amount of rental you collect per year. So if let's say the one bedder we are talking about, the rental amount, let's say is 3,000. So the annual value for the home is about 36,000. Yep, correct.
That would be the income.
That would be the income. So then for the rental income tax, we are able to deduct some expenses such as furnitures, maintenance, upkeeping of the home, of the unit itself. Then after which, then the net amount, the net income, then will be taxed.
Will be taxed, and it depends on their status.
Yes, it depends on how much is the income, rental income. Yeah, there is a different bracket, completely different bracket.
If you have 1 unit or 10.
Because if you have 10 units, then you have multiple sources of income, then your bracket will be at the highest tier, which you'll get taxed more.
Okay, makes sense. So then for the property taxes, so on the unit itself, that they have to pay the government, is there a rate that is standard, or it varies also?
It varies also. It really depends on the property tax depends on the annual value of your home. So bigger units will command for more annual value. That's why you get a higher tax, for the unit itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say there's an average percentage, or it varies based on your income?
It varies
if you occupy the property you wish.
Yeah, it really varies project to project itself, because different location commands a different amount of rent. So it's really hard to determine unless you can specify like a specific project or a specific location. Then we are able to estimate the exact percentage for the rental income.
And how about property tax? Like, if we for example, in the US, we have property tax on your house, and that would be maybe $2,500, $3,000 a year they have to pay just for the property tax.
Yes.
Here,
so
the rates.
Yes. Okay. So for own stay, so if you are buying not to invest, as in not to rent out, you're living in the unit itself. It ranges from 4 to 23%. Yeah. So it really the bigger house, the bigger the tax. But usually ranging about 4 to 5%. Yeah, or 4 to 8% on average. But if you are renting out, it range from 10% onwards all the way up to 32%. Yes, so it's a different rate.
So live there.
Yes, my son there. Yeah.
I see. Okay, perfect. Will you say there's any risks for American buyers or international buyers to purchase here?
Okay.
Is there any?
The risk I would say will be forex exchange rate, the currency exchange rate, as well as job stability. So like what we experienced COVID for the past few years. So the company decide to send the expats back to their home. So this will be a big problem. So I would say job stability as well as currency exchange is the major risk.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. That's a good point, because we didn't think about the risks before that, because there's a lot of expats in Singapore.
Yes.
Nah, I'm not living the good life. and I was like, I wish I was in the company dollar. But yeah, I can see how that is varying the market.
Yeah. So during that point of time, actually most expats were being sent back home. So some of them came back after Singapore reopened up. Then, but I think there are a percentage or a few of them didn't come back at all.
Okay.
Correct.
Did that affect the market? Did that give more? The government gives more motivation for investors to come back, or it's just same? It's just too bad you left.
Actually, in terms of property market, during the COVID years, actually went up by quite a fair bit, because Singapore being a small land itself, it do not have a lot of supply. So during COVID, all the projects stopped. So the demand still remains the same. So it pushed all the project prices all went up, including be it private or public housing, it all went up.
Everything went up.
Correct.
Worth so. Like for a small place, I can imagine as it becomes available, then most likely a wait list probably.
Yes.
Right.
There isn't any wait list, but it's really depend on project itself. So so long there is like vacancy, there are project students available. Actually, you can almost act on it almost immediately. Yeah, with the proper documentation.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think back to the process, just to make sure we cover that clearly. So it will be about 20-25% down.
20-25% down, depending on the project status, or be a new launch project or a resale project.
And then they can pay the remaining until the project is done.
Yeah, correct.
And once they give to you, perhaps maybe get a loan.
Yes. So for the loan itself, they are able to usually the loan is up to 30 years, 30. So it covers up to the buyer's age of 65. Yeah, correct. So after you collect the keys, so after the project is completed, after you are moving in, actually you are still serving the loan monthly until maybe the loan ends in maybe 30 years, 25 years. Yeah, correct.
Okay, perfect. What would you say are the main cities for expats here in Singapore? Is there as neighborhoods, or the whole city is kind of?
Okay, actually it's scattered all around, depending on the lifestyles of the expat. Some projects that I've come across, some projects have more expats of the same countries. Yeah, but usually for Americans, they like to stay probably near Clarke Quay, where the nightlife is, if not the East Coast area where the beach are. Yeah, correct.
Okay, so it's kind of the concentration.
That is good. Yes, correct.
Good to know. Perfect. So once they let's say they purchase a condo and they lived here for a while and they decide to go back home and sell it, are there any capital gain that they have to pay?
Okay, so for Singapore, there's no capital gain tax. So for the seller's side, if you're moving back, you have to pay the broker fee, which is usually 1 to 2% of the selling price, as well as legal fee, maybe about 2,000 to 3,000 in terms of processing. The balance will be your capital gain. Then there's no capital gain tax, but do take note, we have what we call a seller stamp duty. If you were to sell off within 3 years, the maximum seller stamp duty is 12% of your selling price.
Okay.
Yes.
12% of the selling price. Does the tax for the sale?
Yes, correct.
Tax.
Yes, sales tax. So to further elaborate the sales tax, so if you're selling it off between 0 to 1 year, it's 12%. Between 1 to 2 years, it's 8%, and between 2 to 3 years is 4%. So after 3 years, there's no seller stamp duty.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
After 3 years,
After 3 years,
no sales tax?
No sales tax.
No capital gain either?
No.
Okay. So you just wait for...
Yes, just wait for 3 years.
And then it's like no tax?
Yes.
That's awesome. So I guess the last few questions we have is about mostly banking. Can a foreign person open a bank account here, or do they have to be a resident?
Okay, not necessary to be a resident to open a bank account in Singapore. However, as a tourist, you're unable to do so to create a bank account. But if let's say if you're a property investor, so if you're buying a property in Singapore, definitely you're able to open a bank account so long with the proper documentation. So usually the bank account will be the same bank or financial institution where you take the loan from. Yes.
Okay, most likely. Okay, perfect. And are there any, this is the last question that we have, are there any investor visas? Some countries offer this visa like to motivate more people to come to the country and invest larger amounts. Like for example, Spain, Mexico, they used to have like a golden visa that if you invest $500,000, they start your residency process. Here, is there anything like that or?
Okay, to my knowledge, there is no special visa applications to any specific countries. However, we'll encourage like family offices to set up their family office in Singapore. So there is like you need to have I think $1 or few million here parked in Singapore. Then you can buy properties in Singapore. However, just a few days ago, apparently yesterday, Singapore just increased the for what we call additional buyer stamp duty for foreigners. So foreigners buying properties, now they have to pay a stamp duty of 60%, 60. Yes, but then there's exception to it. So under the free trade agreement, so citizens, nationals from US, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein, they're able to buy Singapore properties without first Singapore property, private property without any tax, without any of the additional buyer stamp duty. Yeah.
So any other countries besides the ones that you listed have to pay 60%,
60,
top of the value of the home?
Yes, if you're buying a property, let's say 1 million, you need to pay at least 1.6 million. Yeah, the 600K does not contribute to the value of the home. It's purely tax. Yes.
To the government?
Yeah,
wow.
To the government. Yes.
And this just happened yesterday?
Yes. Just announced. Previously was 30%.
So only a handful of countries for the first property, they'll have the extra 60%.
Yes. They'll enjoy tax. Yeah, correct. They'll enjoy the same benefit as Singaporeans. So for Singaporeans, ourselves, buying of first private property under our own name or joint name, actually, there is no additional buyer stamp duty, 0.
Awesome. I think those are all our questions. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you, Natalie.
And if you have any questions, please ask Jason. I'm going to have the contact information right in the description below, just to make sure that if you have any $1 million or more to invest, the best place is Singapore because it's such a beautiful city.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.